because I mean, no single person without kids can have this.
A big hand. Thank you very much for coming. So tell me, what does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
Tell me, what does democracy look like?
This is what democracy looks like.
What do we want?
Medicaid expansion.
When do we want it?
Now.
What do we want?
Medicaid expansion.
What do we want? When do we want it?
Now.
Today, dear Republican senators, you have an opportunity to save lives. Today, you have an opportunity to bring health care to people who desperately need it but cannot afford it. Today, you have an opportunity to keep much-needed hospitals from closing their doors. Only you can do this. Only you can make this happen. Today, we're here to discuss this with you. Today, more than 83% of the people of Virginia want Medicaid expanded. In your own districts, the majority of the people want Medicaid expanded. Today, what will your answer be to the letter sent to you by 30,000 people in Virginia? Today, will you give a positive response to the 600 religious leaders who have signed on to a statement supporting closing Virginia's health care coverage gap? Be heroes and give a positive response to all the phone calls and emails and tweets. Show us how strong your moral compass is. And we will know that all those visits to your offices by Indivisible, Progressive Virginia, New Virginia Majority, SEIU Virginia 512, and Planned Parenthood advocates made a difference. Today, it is a new game. Dear Republican senators, we will come back and discuss Medicaid expansion as many times as we need to do this. I'll close by sending my own Senator Dick Black a message. He and I have talked several times. He doesn't trust people. He thinks they'll abuse Medicaid expansion. Well, I want to know, Dick Black, what will you say to my friend Donna's son, who was born with a heart defect? He works, but only as much as he can, given his medical condition. He is turning 27 this year, and he can no longer be covered on his parents' insurance. He will have to buy his own insurance. Without Medicaid expansion, he will not be able to afford the expensive medical care he needs. The result could be that he will die. What will you say to him? We are talking about people's lives here, senators. So to all you Republican senators, we say you have people's lives in your hand. Show us your humanity. Expand Medicaid now. Today, please think this over. Please make a decision that will help people's lives. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lisa, and I'm a tech freak, so I'm going to use my phone. My phone's got my information that I want to share. I'm a teacher in Prince William County, and I want to talk about Medicaid expansion not just for the almost 400,000 Virginians who will become eligible for health care, or the 12,000 Virginia veterans who will gain health care, or the approximately 18,000 jobs for families. They can't afford to teach our students. We lose quality educators, quality police officers, quality rescuers when we don't expand Medicaid. Just a few weeks ago, there was a conversation with the mayor of Manassas Park. She said her city's budget hinged on Medicaid expansion. They don't know what will happen if Medicaid does not get expanded. We need it in Virginia. We need it today. We needed it yesterday. We need it tomorrow. But I also want to Unfortunately, she makes just too much to qualify for Medicaid, but not enough to get health insurance on the open market. Once her baby comes, she will not have insurance for that baby, and that's not acceptable. She's worked since the day she turned 16, has never been without a job, and has paid taxes since day one. She deserves health care. Her baby deserves health care, and so does everyone else. Thank you.
Good morning. As we speak now in Williamsburg at 4801 Courthouse Street, there's a group of volunteers entering into our 16th week in front of the office of Senator Tommy Norman. 16 straight weeks. We've met with him, we've talked with him, he's walked by us and ignored us. But we will not stop.
That's right.
And we're there for different reasons. And I'm there because my daughter is disabled but doesn't qualify for Medicaid. She's 28. She's a part-time worker. She'll always be a part-time worker without benefits. I'm here because of her. I'm here because of a family that I serve whose father died. 4 children and a wife working part-time, not qualifying for Medicaid. He has a heart attack, no insurance at the hospital. Then he has a stroke, no insurance at the hospital. Another stroke and he's dead, no insurance. I'm here for them. Let me pray for all of us. Creator God, we call you by many names and worship you in many ways. But we know you to be a God of hope and life, of healing and love. We know you care for the rich and the poor alike, and you do not discriminate the old and the young. But we know you give us the burden of caring for the sick and the dying. You desire that our lives be made alive abundantly and with wholeness. So we ask you to be with us this day. Bless our efforts upon us as we struggle with the General Assembly to do what is right for the least of those among us in our Commonwealth. We ask for a large measure of your spirit of boldness to act with courage this day. We ask you to give wisdom to our elected leaders as they prepare to vote on health care reform in our Senate committee deliberations today. May they be guided by principles of compassion, empathy for the vulnerable, kindness and justice for those unable to speak for themselves, and not by simple political calculations that demean human value and worth. Bless us with a spirit of endurance to keep up the struggle for those who need the health care coverage, to give them dignity, security, and well-being. Amen.
Yes, you're all great. She is.
Thank you all, Virginians, for being here this morning. I'm Jeremy McPike, represent Prince William County, and it is an honor and privilege to be here. Now, she started out with the question this morning, what do we want?
Medicaid
When do we want it?
now.
What do we want?
Medicaid extension
When do we want it?
now.
I've got to say, looking at these signs, as a firefighter and EMT over the last 18 years, I can tell you, I've been with those who are struggling with addiction, those who have undiagnosed diabetes, and the things that impact all of our communities throughout Virginia. It's been too many years that Virginia has waited and made up excuses to not increase coverage for those who struggle, like the stories we heard this morning, those who are working, have too much income, and don't qualify. Our budgets represent our fundamental values. It's where we put our money where our mouth is. And folks, today starts Virginia's process to make change happen. And what do we want?
Medicaid extension
When do we want it?
now.
What do we want?
Medicaid extension
When do we want it?
now.
Each of you have been working across your communities. I've seen it through social media, through phone calls, through emails, through letters. Now's just the start. We've got several weeks to go, likely, between the Senate and the House to work this out. We've got to make our voices louder and stronger and unify across our communities that this is fundamentally important, that we make sure there's not another undiagnosed breast cancer case, an undiagnosed addiction or kidney disease that are, we know, tremendously long-term costs. These cost us more and more for less productivity, a lesser healthy lifestyle, and so many other things. And today's discussion kickoff is about the 300, 400, but we also have to remember there's 750,000 Virginians above that still are uninsured and not covered. So this is step one. We join together and join arms as we move in the next couple of weeks. And we're going to continue to need your help. So thank you for being here today. We're going to kick this off, and we're going to make this happen over the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much. And I know we've got David Broder coming up. Come on and welcome David.
Thank you, Senator McPike. How about a round of applause for his leadership in the Senate? We know that we have the votes. There are the votes in the Senate. There are at least 20 senators who will join Senator McPike today to pass Medicaid expansion. We are here to tell the Senate to do your job. Pass a budget now. Pass a budget that expands health care. My name is David Broder. I'm very proud to serve as the president of SEIU Virginia 512. Our members are on the front lines of this fight for health care justice. Our members are the nurses, are the social workers, are the home care providers who every day are providing care to those in our community who need it most. And every day they are having to do that without the resources that they need. They are not given the resources to serve everyone in the community. They are going above and beyond. And it is killing them as it is killing our fellow Virginians. I'm very excited to bring up two of our members today to share their stories about what it means to be a frontline home care provider, to care every day for others, and yet to go without health care for themselves and their families. That's what this is about. And let's not forget that the legislators, the senators who will meet in that building, have the power to change that, have the power to change that today. And that we are calling on them again to do their jobs and to make sure that Jewel and Thomasine and 400,000 Virginians don't go one more day without health care. So with that, I'd like to call up my union sisters, Jewel Farley and Thomasine Wilson, to share their stories.
How y'all doing? Hey! What do we want?
Medicaid expansion!
When do we want it?
Now!
And why do we want it? To save our lives. So, my name is Jewel Farley. My name is Jewel Farley. I'm a CNA, I'm a med tech, and I'm an x-ray tech. And I'm an organizer. So you see, I'm not lazy. It's not that I want to live off the system, because I don't. I want to work. But I was diagnosed with lupus 4 years ago. And when I got diagnosed with lupus, I was married. My husband couldn't deal with my illness. So we divorced. I left, we divorced. Once I divorced him, I have no health insurance. I went to the pharmacy to pick up my medication. One of them was $100 and something, like $129. I can't afford that. The other one was $78. Now they're texting me I have 4 more prescriptions at the pharmacy, and I can't afford to get them. I have a very deadly disease that I will not be cured from. There is no cure for it. So without my medication and Medicaid expansion, this will be me. And this is why I'm still fighting for Medicaid expansion. And I will fight until it's passed. And I want to thank you all for coming out to help us fight. Yes. Yes.
care provider. I'm a CNA, PCA, and I've been doing this work for quite some time. So for me, as legislators return to Richmond today to finish their work on the state budget, I have a simple message to them. Expand Medicaid now.
Yes.
I'm a proud union home care provider, and I serve as the home care vice chair of SEIU Virginia 512. And I also have been working as a home care worker for 17 years. And during that time, I've served over some 20 consumers. And also the disabilities that lead to active, healthy lives and homes in this community. I love what I do because I love helping people be independent. But I don't love the tens of thousands of Virginia home care providers like me who don't have enough employer-based health care. To make matters worse, I am one of 400,000 Virginians who fall into that coverage gap, not qualifying for subsidies to purchase health care through an ACA. That means that I'm not able to see a doctor for checkups or preventive screenings. Medicaid expansion would be a life changer. In fact, for me, it would be a lifesaver. In 2013, I was diagnosed with cancer. At that time, I was lucky enough to have a job that secured me with insurance. And I've been cancer-free at this point 5 years now. But I'm scared about the cancer coming back and not having health care to treat it. No one should have to live with the fear that not being able to see a doctor or not being able to get the cancer screenings that they need. That's why I've been working with my union sisters and brothers and our allies to mobilize voters to make their voices heard for Medicaid expansion. We've held weekly phone bankings, canvases, vigils, rallies, and more. Last week, SEIU partnered with Planned Parenthood, NARAL, New Virginia Majority, Progress Virginia, and VCT, along with Senior Senator Jennifer McClellan and Delegate Deborah Rodman and Schuler I'll get that name wrong, Van Flankenberg, to talk to Senator Sturdivant and Senator Donovan's constituents. Delegate Rodman and I talked to voters on the doors and desperately want the senator to join the House in passing Medicaid expansion. So as the General Assembly returns today to Richmond, I'm asking you to join me in calling your state senator and asking them to pass Medicaid expansion now. And you can call on that number, dial toll free, and if you have your phones now, you can call them now. Dial toll free, 1-844-252-3720 to be connected to your state senator. On behalf of the 400,000 Virginians whose lives hang in the balance, I thank you.
One more story with you, and that's my family story. Yesterday, we all celebrated Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms here. If you look around, it is very clear that it is the moms and the women who are leading this movement. Yesterday was a pretty powerful day for us. You see, last summer, my wife was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. We didn't know if we would make it to this day yesterday. And while that was a scary time, was scary for my 2 daughters, we never had to worry about whether or not we would be able to go see the doctor because we have health care. We never had to worry about whether she would get the treatment she needed. She went through chemo, she had surgery, she went through radiation. It was not easy, but she did it. And I'm glad to say she's cancer-free and got to celebrate Mother's Day with our 2 little girls yesterday. But we are keenly aware that for 400,000 of our neighbors, of our family, of our friends, even more in Virginia, they don't have that same option to health care. We know that too many little kids, too many adults didn't get to celebrate Mother's Day with their moms yesterday because they don't have health care. This dying here today is real. Every week, 11 Virginians lose their lives because they don't have health care. In one of the wealthiest states, in one of the wealthiest countries in the world, that should not be. So thank you all for being here. Thank you for keeping it up. We know they can hear us. We are going to keep fighting and keep telling the Senate to do their job and expand Medicaid now.
Rogers here on behalf of Planned Parenthood Advocates of Virginia. We are proud to stand in solidarity with all of our progressive partners to fight and advocate for Medicaid expansion. You've heard the numbers. Up to 400,000 Virginians stand to gain health care access if we expand Medicaid today. And we call on Tommy Norment and all the Senate Republicans to act today to expand access to health care. I'm wearing a Stand With Black Women shirt, and that's because black women are disproportionately impacted by this issue. Because of systemic disparities in access to health care, economic disparities, housing disparities, black women particularly stand to gain by expanding Medicaid today. So again, what do we want?
Medicaid expansion!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Medicaid expansion!
When do we want it?
Now!
Thank you so much.
Hello. So as we know, you've heard all the great points, but one point that should be made: in every single district of every single senator, Medicaid expansion is popular. Every one of them knows that in their district, many people are going to benefit from this program. And yet they refuse not only to expand, but they have so far refused to even talk about expanding for a month after the House passed their budget. It is time for the Senate to do its job. We elect them to represent us and to do their job. More Virginians support this program than don't. So what do we want?
Medicaid expansion!
When do we want it?
Now!
To get behind our bodies, come over here. Let's make a real tableau. And then I would like us to have 2 minutes of silence. Senators, as we are going to vote you out. We did it in Virginia. We're going to do it again. Come on, everybody, get over here. You guys, get behind me.
They're calling you out. They're calling you out if you don't. Okay. All right.
All right, 2 minutes of silence, starting now. We want Medicaid expansion. When do we want it? Now. What do we want?
Medicaid expansion.
When do we want it? Now. We are here to let our senators know that we want them to expand Medicaid, to put it in the budget so we can get on with the business of Virginia. We will come back as many times as we need to until they do their job. The reason we did a die-in today is because people are dying because they don't have medical coverage. Studies say that 11 people die every week because they don't have health care. And so we are here to make that point, to let our senators know that we are watching them. They can no longer do this in a black box. We are not going to give up, The number of people joining us is growing every day. It's becoming a bigger and bigger coalition of groups all across Virginia.
How big was your turnout today?
I don't know, 150, 200. It's hard to tell when people are scattered all over. But it was big. It was big, and we organized this on Facebook
In a very short time.
in a very short time.